present, so we can expect that she will introduce and describing critical thinking in her own words. Actually, what Principal Madam said that this topic, critical thinking, is introduced in UG CBCS syllabus of West Bengal State University. And when we introduced this topic, our Honorable Vice Chancellor asked why. And when we analyze the importance of critical thinking, he was so pleased and appreciate our work. So it was our duty. That means I, as chairperson of UGBOS of West Bengal State University Department of Philosophy, always tried to organize a workshop on critical thinking. But unfortunately, due to other academic assignments, we can't do that. Today, I am especially thankful to the Department of Philosophy, East Calcutta Girls College, for organizing such a workshop or lecture series in on this topic, which is also topic of our UG syllabus. Now, the book An Introduction to Critical Thinking is very interesting. I have read this book, and I hope all the students, teachers, researchers must read this book, as I think this is a must-read book. It helps us to understand the nature, features of critical thinking, and and it provides a strategy to develop skills for thinking, reading, and writing critically. Now, uh, uh, what is critically thinking? Critical thinking. The term is very popular. All of us use this term, and when we set questions, we write that critically answer critically, like this. That means critical thinking is something different from thinking. Thinking is a faculty, thinking, feeling, willing. So thinking is a faculty, but critical thinking is something different from general thinking. So how can we define critical thinking? There are so many definitions, but I just generally speaking about critical thinking, that in general we can define critical thinking as the ability to think clearly and rationally. These two terms, clearly and rationally. Basically, clarity or clearness is the most important part of rational thinking, critical thinking. Clearly and rationally, the ability to think clearly and rationally about what to do or what to believe. Critical thinking is not about being negative. The term critical doesn't mean being negative. The term critical comes from the Greek word kritikos, which means discerning, that means to determine, nirnayak in Bengali, nirnayak. So we can say that critical thinking is a deeper kind of thinking in which we do not take things for granted, but we question, analyze, and evaluate what we read, hear, or see, or write. So, critical thinking is the art of using reason to analyze ideas. It is an art, and dig deeper to get our true potential. It is not about thinking more or thinking harder. It's about thinking better. Practically, critical thinking is a general term used to identify essential mindsets and skills that contribute to effective decision making. Critical thinking needs special kind of mindset and skills by which we can solve problem, make good decision, etc. So, critical thinking seeks to identify reliable information and make reliable judgments. It encompasses mindset and skills, both of which can be developed through an understanding of the key concepts, practice, and application. So, we may ask, who are critical thinkers? Who are critical thinkers, or what mindsets and skills do critical thinkers possess? Now, in answer to these questions, we can say that critical thinkers are such people having a critical spirit, meaning that they have a probing inquisitiveness, a keenness of mind, a jealous dedication to reason, and a hunger or eagerness for reliable information. Now, we can summarize the features of a critical thinkers, or the skills and mindsets of a critical thinkers, like in this manner, that is, critical thinkers are, who are critical thinkers? Critical thinkers are those who are in, it means they always seek fair in their evaluation of evidence and others' view. They are skeptical regarding their own perspective, and being able to make connections between ideas. Critical thinkers are open-minded. This is very important. Open-minded, and they are ready to have their beliefs challenged. They are not biased, able to formulate judgments with evidence and reason, and able to use evidence and reason to formulate decisions. These are the characteristic features of a critical thinker. You might say that a critical existing social norms and traditions. They think systematically, considering all aspects of a problem and looking at each element in its wider context. They carefully examine ideas and information, look beyond what may appear as obvious. They want to find out in deeper sense. They are not satisfied with the appearance. They use evidence to support their claim, use logic and reasoning in their arguments, avoid making assumptions. They do not make any assumption. They can recognize and also can avoid logical fallacies, and consider different perspectives, strives to be aware of their own cognitive biases, and finally, using these above mentioned critical thinking skills, they can make judgments. So, we can say that a critical thinker possesses a separate set of skills and mindset which differentiate him or her from a general people. Now, what is the importance of critical thinking? Practically, considering present pandemic situation, critical thinking is very relevant. And sometimes people ask, what is the role of philosophers or philosophy to control or to overcome this pandemic situation? What Principal Madam mentions that critical thinking, we being the student of philosophy or teacher of philosophy, I think that this is the faculty which can help us to find out a way out from this pandemic situation. So, critical thinking is important considering the present situation, as well as it is very much important for all time, for all people engaged in any type of profession uh, for students, for scholars, for faculties, for everyone. Now, I make some points to point out the importance of critical thinking. That is, critical thinking is the ability to engage in reflective and independent thinking. Reflective means we know that in our philosophical tradition, are suggested as, but these are not only ways to learn atmogano, but any type of knowledge we can attain through these three steps. See, Shrobono, first we hear from uh, reliable, from knowledgeable person. Then second step, monono, reflection is very important. Monono indicates that we should not accept any type of belief or any type of opinion unquestionably. We question it, we criticize it, we analyze it. Then, if it seems to us that it is right, it is reasonable, only then we accept it, and in the final state, we follow that path, that is nididhasana. So, reflection is most important, and it is a characteristic feature of critical thinking. So, critical thinking is the ability to engage in reflective and independent thinking. Critical thinking is not a matter of accumulating information. A person with a good memory and who knows a lot of facts is not necessarily good as critical thinker. A critical thinker is able to deduce consequences from what he knows, and he knows how to make use of information to solve problems. Secondly, critical thinking should not be confused with being argumentative or being critical of other people. Only to ask question. To ask question is a feature of critical thinker, but question only for questioning is not at all the characteristic of a critical thinker. প্রশ্ন প্রশ্ন আমরা করব, কিন্তু প্রশ্নের জন্য প্রশ্ন নয়, একটা উদ্দেশ্য নিয়ে। সংশয় ছাড়া কোনো আলোচনা হয় না। তো সংশয় তার পেছনে একটা কারণ থাকবে। দ্যাট মিনস কোশ্চেনিং মাস্ট বি গাইডেড আ goal, a purpose. So those who are argumentative doesn't mean that they are critical thinker. Although critical thinking skills can be used in exposing fallacies and bad reasoning, critical thinking can also play an important role in cooperative reasoning and constructive tasks. It can help us acquire knowledge, improve our theories, and strengthen arguments. It is a domain general thinking skill. Domain general thinking skill. It means that these skills confined are not restricted to a particular subject area. Being able to think well and solve problems systematically is an asset for any career. So, not only philosophy students or these philosophy researchers are bound to be critical thinker, but for all to think critically is an important characteristic. In the field of education, research, finance, management, or legal profession, the critical thinking is obviously important. Again, critical thinking is very important in the new knowledge economy. New knowledge economy means the global knowledge economy is driven by information and technology. One has to be able to deal with changes quickly and effectively. The new economy places increasing demands on flexible intellectual skills and the ability to analyze information and integrate diverse sources of knowledge in solving problems. Good critical thinking promotes such thinking skills, and it is very important in this in the present fast changing workplace. Critical thinking enhances language and presentation skills. It also enhances presentation skills. Thinking clearly and systematically can improve the way we express our ideas. In learning how to analyze the logic improves comprehension abilities. It promotes creativity. Critical thinking promotes creativity. How? To come up with a creative solution to a problem involves not just have not just having new ideas. It must also be the case that the new ideas being generated are useful and relevant to the task at hand. Critical thinking plays a crucial role in evaluating new ideas, selecting the best ones among them, and modifying them if necessary. Again, it is crucial for self reflection. In order to live a meaningful life and to structure our lives accordingly, we need to justify and reflect on our values and decisions. Critical thinking provides the tools for this process of self evaluation. Good critical thinking is the foundation of science and democracy. It is said that, and we know also, science requires the critical use of reason in experimentation and theory confirmation. Again, the proper functioning of a liberal democracy requires citizens who have issues to inform their judgments about proper governance and to overcome biases and prejudice. And this role plays a crucial role in pandemic situation. Now, we often see that employers always welcomes good critical thinking skills. Why? Especially, not only, no, not specially, but in all type of professions. Employers always want job candidates who can evaluate a situation using logical thought and offer the best solutions. So, those who possess good critical thinking skill can be trusted by the employers to make decisions independently and will not need to consent handholding. That's why employers always prefers the such type of employees who have good critical thinking power. One thing we should bear in mind that no one thinks critically 100% of time. Though we have this faculty, but we do not think critically always. But uh, this is a power of our mind which we can develop by certain processes. So, next, I would like to highlight how to improve critical thinking skill. How one can improve critical thinking skill. There are so many ways, but few some of the ways I will mention here. In order to improve critical thinking skill, we should question the assumptions. It is true, we make a lot of assumptions about almost everything. We can question the assumptions. For example, suppose, why do we feel to eat in the morning even when we are not hungry? Assumptions which are taken for granted might crumble upon further examinations. Assumptions must be questioned. Why I accept it? Why it is right, not the other option? So there are so many questions. Why should I not smoke? Why should I not drink chocolate, etc.? Such type of questions. There are so many illustration in that book written by Professor Sen. So that means all these questions reflect that person is asking for justification. He or she needs justification for what to do, what not to do, what he or she believes, not to believe, etc. So questioning is most important part. It is said, in order to be critical thinker, do not take information on authority until you have investigated it yourself. This is monon, reflection. You must justify the topic, opinion, etc. That you must not accept it as taken for granted subject. Like assumptions, taking information on authority can be useful and it saves time and energy. But at the same time, it also keeps us from getting to the bottom of things we perceive as coming from a trustworthy source, even when they don't. Just because it was published in a magazine or broadcast on over TV doesn't mean it necessarily true. So, before accepting any theory, any opinion, a critical thinker must have to clarify, justify, question that particular point, that particular theory, particular opinion. Asking question is perhaps quite essential act of critical thinking. Next, understand your own biases. All of us must try to find out our own deficits, own biasness, etc. Since understanding what your biases are and where they may affect how you deal your information, how you deal your information. Think several moves ahead. Try to imagine the possible futures, the problem you are working on. That means the problem must be discussed from all tentative perspectives, from all tentative probabilities. Set aside at least, and sometimes somewhere somewhere it says that this is also set aside at least 30 minutes a day to improve your brain function, to make your brain more sleek and powerful. Then choose a problem and try to solve that problem, and that problem maybe theoretical problem, maybe your personal problem, or that means try to engage your brain with a problem solving activity. Consistently exercise also can help to improve brain function and proper diet also plays, and it also says statisticians that it also plays an instrumental role in keeping brain healthy, and healthy brain only supports critical things. Critical thinking is not only about making subtle critical moves for the purposes of victory over one's opponent, but it is also about adopting a certain state of mind about investigation and inquiry. You know that in Indian philosophy, especially in neo philosophy, there are three types of patha: Bad, Jolpo, and Vitonda. Argumentation, three types of argumentation, and all of us know that three types of argumentation. What is the nature of these three types of argumentation? I will not go details about these argumentation, but these are also the deliberations by which one can develop his or her thinking ability, critical thinking ability. So, critical thinking has sources both in Western tradition and also in Indian traditions. And these landmark classic works, the beginning of a new approach to Indian philosophy. Critical thinking actually from if we want to, what I want to say that while older approach in our East in Indian philosophy always says that Indian philosophy assumes everything to be a manifestation of religion's doctrine or some abstract concept or a form of mysticism, etc. But if we know the rich tradition of argumentation, rich tradition of Indian philosophical analysis, we can say that here also critical thinking plays important role in arriving a conclusion or a siddhant. However, this is in short all about what I want to say about critical thinking, and I will not go for details because the actual knowledgeable person, that means who is the authentic authority apto ব্যক্তি of this subject matter is present here. So I will not go for detail. I thanks to all, and I will I stop here, and I am waiting for our honorable speaker, Dr. Mujibullah Sen's lecture. Thank you all.
Thank you, madam, for your valuable.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. Thank you, madam, for your valuable speech. You explained very well the importance of critical thinking in life. You explained very well how critical thinking is important in other disciplines also apart from philosophy, the characteristics of a critical thinker and the meaning of critical thinking. Thank you, madam, a lot for your valuable speech. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we are going to start our lecture series by Professor Madhuchanda Sen. It is my honor to introduce Professor Madhuchanda Sen of Jadavpur University. She did her bachelor's, master's and MPhil degree in philosophy from Jadavpur University. She earned another MPhil degree in philosophy from the University of London. She did her PhD from Jadavpur University under the guidance of Professor Amita Chatterjee. Her area of research are philosophy of mind, philosophy of language, epistemology, and critical thinking. Professor Sen has teaching experience of over 27 years. In this long period, she taught at Sarojini Naidu College for Women, at Rabindra Bharati University for more than 10 years, and at Jadavpur University for more than 8 years. She was also a visiting professor at the University of Bologna, Italy, under the Erasmus program. In BA examination, she was the topper in the Faculty of Arts of Jadavpur University. In MA examination also, she held the top position in the Department of Philosophy as well as among all girl students of the Faculty of Arts of Jadavpur University. She was awarded the Best All-Round Girl Student of the Year in 1990. Among several awards and fellowships, she was also awarded the Commonwealth Scholarship, where she worked with Dr. Tim Crane of the Department of Philosophy, University College London. Professor Sen guided 9 PhD and 8 MPhil theses. She presented 22 papers in international and national seminars and conferences. She was the resource person of 6 seminars. She is a member of 3 group research projects at the Center of Advanced Studies in Philosophy, which are funded by the University Grant Commission. Professor Sen is a member of the editorial board of international and national journals, which include Culture and Dialogue and Jadavpur Journal of Philosophy. Professor Sen has published several papers in journals of international and national repute. She has contributed chapters in 13 books, of which 10 are in English and 3 in Bengali. She edited 5 books and authored 4 books, which are Externalism and the Mental, Introduction to Critical Thinking, Logic, Critical Thinking, Academic Writing, and Presentation Skill. She has jointly edited the fresh script for Professor Amita Chatterjee entitled Mind and Cognition. She works in critical thinking. She is the faculty member of the module on critical thinking under Project Equal, Jadavpur University, funded by the European Union. it is our precious opportunity for all of us to listen to Professor Sen on critical thinking. May I now request Professor Sen to deliver her lecture. Madam, please deliver your lecture. Over to you, madam.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Hope that all of you are doing more or less well and are not too stressed or sad in this unprecedented pandemic situation that we find ourselves in. I am actually very happy to be a part of this endeavor of East Calcutta Girls College, and I would like to express my gratitude to the principal, Dr. Shukla Hajra, for giving me this opportunity to be with you. I'm also very happy because I have my old friend, Professor Shobita Shamanto, as the chair. Thanks are due to Payal, my dear friend Dr. Payal Pakrishi of the Department of Philosophy, who has been the link between me and the college. I would also like to extend my thanks to Dr. Panchali Mojumdar. I have really a very kind of missionary zeal about critical thinking and teaching of critical thinking in universities. And I was very happy when UGC introduced critical thinking as a skill enhancement course in all colleges and universities over India. Well, as the name tells you, a skill enhancement course is really a very different kind of course, a course not really similar to any other course that we usually teach in universities. So what we are doing here is that we are training students to think. In other words, we are actually imparting a particular practical skill rather than some kind of theoretical knowledge. And in order to enhance this skill, we need to do a thing. Okay? And we have to do this thing in a particular way, in a smart way, in a good way. And you will notice in the course of the 3 lectures that I shall be giving that my focus would be really telling you how we may actually manage to teach students a particular skill. And hence, the methodology that we are going to apply here is a little different from the kind of methodology that we usually employ when we are teaching something. So it is not it's not going to be a theory-based pedagogy that we are going to employ. Rather, we are going to teach them how to do certain tasks rather than really reading or writing something. So this is really an extremely different kind of course, and it needs to be taught in a very different way. In the past 3-4 years, I have been teaching this course, and one of the things that struck me is that when I set questions for my students, they were really taken aback because they were required to do certain things rather than answering a question or writing an essay or reading and assessing someone's work. They were actually needed to perform a task. So in the beginning, they had real difficulties in understanding what they were required to do. But as and when the course proceeded, they understood that this is not something new. This is something that they do every day. And now they're doing it in a more systematic manner. Okay, so one of the questions that Dr. Mojumdar asked right at the beginning is, why do we need to teach people how to think critically? Right. I mean, this is something that we seem to be naturally blessed with, our ability to think critically, right? So what is the point of teaching us how to think properly, how to think critically, how to give good arguments, okay, as if we already know this. So I was reminded of an event uh, that took place sometime in the 18th century. Certain grammarians came up with a enormous book of Spanish grammar, and they sorry, not Spanish grammar, Castilian grammar, and they presented it to the queen, that here is the grammar for the Castilian language. And the queen said, what use does this book have for me, because I already know this? So the same question can be asked when we are trying to teach you how to think critically. One may say that, why are you writing a book on critical thinking? Because people know how to think critically. You don't need to teach them anything. But however, there is a necessity for teaching this course. You see, one of the things that I feel is that humans develop at two levels. First, they develop as individuals, and then they develop as a member of a particular society. They can be said to develop as individuals when they really start thinking for themselves. Okay. So we say that an adult is able to think for himself or herself. Similarly, a person can be said to have developed into a mature social individual when that person is capable of understanding and evaluating the world around her and is able to take decisions independently and responsibly. Now, along our journey of becoming rational, social, and moral agents, one thing that comes most handy is critical thinking. Okay. If I may be allowed to say a few words in Bangla, in way of introducing what we are going to do here, because I was told by Payal, the organizer, that there would be students from the college, and it would be good for them if I said a few words in Bangla. So I'm addressing the students of the college right here. আমরা এখানে কিভাবে চিন্তাশীল হয়ে উঠবো সেটা যেন পড়াতে এসেছি। কিন্তু কেউ বলতে পারে যে চিন্তাশীল তো আমরা এমনি, তা হঠাৎ করে এই চিন্তাশীল হওয়াটাকে আবার বিশেষ করে শেখানোর কি দরকার ছিল? এখন দেখো, চিন্তাশীল হওয়া ও বিচার ভাবনা করা এক অর্থে বৌদ্ধিক দিক থেকে স্বনির্ভর হয়ে ওঠা। মানে জীবনের চলার পথে আমরা প্রতিটি যে পদক্ষেপ নিচ্ছি সেটা নেওয়ার জন্য কিন্তু আমাদের বিচার ভাবনা করতে হচ্ছে। সেই যে পদক্ষেপ, সেটা অতি সামান্য কিছু একটা পদক্ষেপ হতে পারে। কেউ ভাবতে পারে যে আচ্ছা, আজকে রাত্রে রুটি খাবো না আজকে ভাত খাবো। এটা একটা খুব ট্রিভিয়াল, কিন্তু সে বিচার করে ভাবছে যে আজকে কি করাটা দরকার, আমার বাড়িতে কি আছে, আচ্ছা করতে কতটা পরিশ্রম হবে, আমার কি সেই সময়টা আছে। আবার সেটা খুব জটিল একটা রাজনৈতিক একটা সমস্যা হতে পারে যে আচ্ছা, আমি কোন রাজনৈতিক দলের প্রার্থীকে ভোট দেব, বা জীবনের ক্ষেত্রে একটা খুব বড় ডিসিশন হতে পারে, সেই বিষয়ে আমরা চিন্তা করতে পারি। যে আমি কি ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং পড়বো না আমি পলিটিক্যাল সায়েন্স। আবার হতে পারে যে প্রশ্নটা হতে পারে একটা আদর্শগত ভাবে যে আমি কেন সাম্যবাদী হব। একটা নৈতিক প্রশ্ন হতে পারে যে মৃত্যুদণ্ড কি নৈতিক দিক থেকে জাস্টিফাইড, এই প্রশ্ন। একটা সাধারণ প্রশ্ন হতে পারে যে প্লাস্টিক কেন ব্যবহার করব, কেন মোবাইল ফোন নিয়ে সারাক্ষণ ব্যস্ত থাকবো, কেন পেট্রোল গাড়ি কিনবো, কেন ডিজেল গাড়ি কিনবো, কেন ঈশ্বরে বিশ্বাস করব না, কেন ঈশ্বরে বিশ্বাস করব। এই প্রত্যেকটা ক্ষেত্রে কিন্তু আমরা আমাদের যদি আমাদের স্বনির্ভর হয়ে উঠতে হয়, যদি সত্যি আমাদের একটা ইন্টেলেকচুয়াল অ্যাডাল্টহুডে পৌঁছতে হয়, তাহলে আমাদের কিন্তু একটা সবিচারে উঠতে। এবং এই ক্ষেত্রেই আমাদের মনে হচ্ছে যে সবিচার চিন্তন করার একটা ট্রেনিং আমাদের দরকার। এবং যখন আমরা এই আলোচনায় এগোবো তখন আমরা বুঝতে পারবো যে কেন এই ধরনের ট্রেনিং প্রয়োজন। What I want to say that as and when we will discuss how critical thinking is done and what are the standards of critical thinking, what are the criteria of good critical thinking, we will realize what are the hindrances that we face every day in really thinking critically. And it is then and then alone that we will understand why a good training and a very cautious training in critical thinking is necessary. Okay, now I would like to share something. Let me see if I can do this. Can you see it? Can you see what I am sharing? Payal, can you respond, please?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Yes, we are seeing.
Okay, thank you. So, as I teach philosophy, I can't claim that I am a philosopher, but since I teach philosophy, I start off with a quote from Plato's Apology, where Socrates is saying that an unexamined life is not worth living. Okay. This whole idea of examining one's life is key to critical thinking. Now, we may ask, but why should I have to examine my life? Or rather, I might go further and ask, what do you mean by examining life? Now, if you are already asking these questions, then you are already a critical thinker. In being critical, you are actually developing two important skills. One is the skill of thinking through things, that is not taking anything on face value. And the other thing that you are learning is that you are thinking for yourself. Okay. And here you will see that I have a small box where I'm saying that as a critical thinker, your motto from now on should be nothing is obvious and nothing is absurd. Now, can you now see me again? Because I've stopped sharing. Can you see me now?
Could not.
Maybe we'll give it a little time. Hang on.
Yes,
okay. Can you see me now?
Yes, ma'am, we can see you.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So the motto that I was saying is that nothing is obvious and nothing is absurd. Now, what I want to say is that there are many things that we believe, and we believe that they are true, and we often believe them unquestioningly. And so for us, they are obvious. But only when someone else points out that it is probably something that could be false, that we understand that the thing that we took to be completely obvious and obviously and patently true could probably not be so. On the other hand, something which seems to us to be completely absurd because we have never thought about it, we have never, we have never looked into the matter in this particular way, may seem to us quite credible on reflection. কোনো একটা জিনিসকে আমরা obviously সত্য বলে মনে করতে পারি, আবার কোনো একটা জিনিসকে আমাদের একদম কমপ্লিটলি অ্যাবসার্ড হতেই পারে না এরকম মনে হতে পারে। কিন্তু যখন কেউ আমাদের চ্যালেঞ্জ করছে তখন কিন্তু আমরা বুঝতে পারছি যে যে জিনিসটা আমার কাছে সম্পূর্ণ অবভিয়াসলি ট্রু বলে মনে হচ্ছিল সেটা অবভিয়াস নাও হতে পারে। আর যে জিনিসটাকে সম্পূর্ণ অদ্ভুত অ্যাবসার্ড বলে মনে করেছিলাম সেটা কিন্তু অ্যাকচুয়ালি গ্রহণযোগ্য হতে পারে। তাহলে এখানে আমরা প্রথমেই যেটা আমাদের বর্জন করতে হবে, যে যে দুটো সেন্সকে বর্জন করতে হবে, সেটা হচ্ছে the sense of obviousness and the sense of absurdity. These are the two senses that we have to first give up. Okay. Now, we may now ask, what is it to think through things? What is it that we are asking a critical thinker to do? সব জিনিস বিচার বিবেচনা করে ভেবে দেখে তারপর ডিসিশন নাও, এরকম কথা বারংবার আমাদের বলা হয়। So what is it that we are asked to do? আমাদের কি করতে বলা হচ্ছে? Well, first of all, we are being told that refrain from believing and accepting anything without first doubting it, without first asking questions about it, asking whether that thing is worth believing or accepting. On the other hand, we should equally refrain from rejecting everything without giving it a serious thought. Now, as you can see that these two things are things that we are required to do, not because we are logicians, not because we are scientists, not because we are lawyers, but because we are human beings and we are thrown in this absurd life situation and we have to somehow trudge our way along our lives and do the best of it. So in order to do that, these are the two skills that we have to attain. One is to reject the sense of obviousness, and the other is to reject the sense of absurdity. Now, the thing is that we actually manage to do this quite often. Not that we are very bad at it. We are sometimes very good. And we manage to justify what we believe with the help of arguments. And we also justify what we do not believe with arguments. So every day we face arguments, okay? But if we are careful enough, we will see that some arguments are just bad. And some arguments are really great. And the third kind, and I want you to be very careful about the third kind, some arguments are just vicious. তাহলে যেটা বলতে চাইছি সেটা হচ্ছে যে আমরা প্রত্যেক দিন জীবনে চলার পথে আমরা নানা রকম যুক্তি দিই এবং অন্যরা যুক্তি দিচ্ছে সেটা আমরা শুনছি, আমরা সেটাকে এনকাউন্টার করছি, কেমন? এখন সেই যুক্তিগুলোকে, সেই আর্গুমেন্টগুলোকে, সেইগুলোকে আমরা কিন্তু তিনটে ক্যাটেগরিতে আমরা ভাগ করে দেব। একদল আর্গুমেন্ট আছে যেগুলোকে আমরা ডাউনরাইট বলে দিতে পারি যে এই আর্গুমেন্ট গুলো আর্গুমেন্টই না, এগুলোর কোনো মুন্ডু মাথাই নেই, এটা আমরা বলে দিই। আর এক গোষ্ঠীর আর্গুমেন্ট আছে যেগুলো আমরা জানি যেগুলো সাংঘাতিক ভালো আর্গুমেন্ট। হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু এই দুটোর চেয়েও সাংঘাতিক একটা গোষ্ঠীর আর্গুমেন্ট আছে, যে গোষ্ঠীর আর্গুমেন্টকে আমি বলতে চাইছি যে যেগুলো হচ্ছে কুযুক্তি, যেগুলো আমাদের একটা বিশেষ জিনিসকে বিশ্বাস করার জন্য উদ্দেশ্য প্রণোদিত ভাবে দেওয়া হচ্ছে এবং খুব চালাকির সঙ্গে আমাদের বোকা বানানোর জন্য দেওয়া হচ্ছে। তাহলে what I'm saying is that there are three kinds of arguments: just bad arguments, just great arguments, and just vicious arguments. And as a critical thinker, our job is to really sift out the good arguments from these completely nonsensical arguments and vicious ones. তাহলে আমরা কি করছি? আমাদের বুদ্ধির দ্বারা বুদ্ধিটাকে ছাঁকনির মতো কাজ করছে, জানো? হ্যাঁ, এই যে আমরা যে 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 বিশেষ পারদর্শিতা আমরা ডেভেলপ করার চেষ্টা করছি, এই যে সবিচার চিন্তনের যে পারদর্শিতা, সেই পারদর্শিতা কিরকম হবে? যে সেটা একটা ছাঁকনির মতো কাজ করবে, যেটা বিচারের দ্বারা আমাকে খারাপ ননসেন্সিক্যাল আর্গুমেন্টস আর ভিশিয়াস আর্গুমেন্টস কে বাদ দিয়ে যেটা একটা সুযুক্তি, সুচিন্তিত যুক্তি, সেটাকে গ্রহণ করতে সাহায্য। So this is the ability that we are going to develop, and my aim is to show you how such an ability may be developed, and in developing it, what are the things that we have to keep in mind. And as I was saying before, the methodology here is completely different. We are going to give you a host of examples, and it is through examples that we will actually finally understand what is it that we are trying to achieve. মানে উদাহরণের সঙ্গে গল্প বলে কিংবা অ্যাকচুয়াল সিচুয়েশনের মধ্যে নিজেকে ফেলে আমরা কিন্তু বুঝতে শিখবো যে কোনটা কুযুক্তি, কোনটা সম্পূর্ণ অবান্তর যুক্তি, আর কোনটা একটা সুযুক্তি। So we are really going to give you a host of examples. Okay, let us start with a completely nonsensical argument. This is an argument that you find in a very popular British TV series. It's called Monty Python's Flying Circus. Now, in that episode, I actually thought of showing you that episode, but I was not sure whether the technology will support it. So I'm going to tell you what happens. So here is a scene where a group of people are bringing a woman to some law enforcing officer, maybe a judge. They have bound up a woman and they're dragging her by her hair and bringing her to the judge. And they're saying that this is a witch and she ought to be burnt. কি করছে যে একদল লোক একটি মেয়েকে চুলের মুঠি ধরে টেনে নিয়ে আসছে, এসে বিচারকের কাছে বলছে যে এই একজন ডাইনি, একে আমরা পুড়িয়ে মারি। Now the judge asks, how do you know that she is a witch? কি করে জানলে যে ও একটা ডাইনি? One of the people who have brought her says, oh, she's a witch because she has turned me into a frog. তো একটি লোক বলছে কি যে না, ও উইচ কেন না, আমাকে একটা ব্যাঙ বানিয়ে দিয়েছে। So everybody is looking at him. He looks like a man. So they're saying, turned you like into a frog? What do you mean? So then the man is saying, no, okay, she did turn me into a frog, but now I have gotten better. So now the judge asks him, well, tell me who is a witch? Or tell me, what do you do with witches? ডাইনিদের নিয়ে তোমরা কি করো? ডাইনি কাকে বলে? ডাইনিদের নিয়ে কি করতে হয় বলো? So everybody together says, well, we burn witches, we burn witches. So now the judge asks, what are the other things that burn? ডাইনি ছাড়া আর কোন জিনিসকে তোমরা পোড়াতে পারো? So everybody says more witches, আরো ডাইনিদের, এই ডাইনিকে না পোড়ালে অন্য ডাইনিকে পোড়াবো. If we don't burn this witch, we'll get another witch to burn. Now the judge again asks, no, tell me, what other things you burn? So now someone scratches his head and says, we burn wood. Then the judge asks, so why do you burn witches? And the man answers, oh, because this woman is a witch because she is made of wood. তাহলে এখানে কি যুক্তি দেওয়া হচ্ছে? বলা হচ্ছে যে এই ভদ্রমহিলা একজন ডাইনি, কেননা ইনি কাঠ দিয়ে তৈরি, একে কাঠ দিয়ে তৈরি করা হয়েছে। Now the judge asks, how do you know that the woman is made of wood? কি করে জানলে যে এই মহিলা কাঠ দিয়ে বানানো? The answer comes, okay, maybe she is made of wood. Let us make a bridge out of her. একটা ব্রিজ বানিয়ে দেখি, এটা ওকে দিয়ে একটা ব্রিজ বানানো যায় কিনা, তাহলেই বোঝা যাবে যে ও wooden. Now the judge says, but you know, we also make bridges out of stone. So now they are in a situation, they can't prove that she's a witch, even though they say that she's made of wood. So now the judge asks, does wood sink in water? কাঠ কি জলে ডুবে যায়? Everybody says, no, it floats. So let us throw her into water and see if she floats or not. Now the judge says, what are the other things that float in water? A man says, duck. Now the judge gives a ruling. Finally, judge at a ruling দিচ্ছে, কি বলছে? So now, logically, if she weighs the same as a duck, then she is a witch. And if she is a witch, then we will burn her. কেমন? তাহলে এখানে আমরা একটা completely ridiculous argumented উদাহরণ পেলাম. Here we have an example of a completely ridiculous argument. Okay? So of the three kinds of arguments that we spoke of, we have already spoken of the ridiculous one. Now we may go on to good arguments. Whenever we talk about critical thinking, whenever we talk about a critical mind, the image of Sherlock Holmes comes to our mind, right? Because we always think that no one other than Sherlock Holmes could have the best possible critical mind. Okay, so let us think about an example from Sherlock Holmes. And I am taking an example from the more recent, recent television series on Sherlock Holmes called Sherlock. And we see the first episode of Sherlock, we see that Sherlock meets Dr. Watson. And he just sees Dr. Watson and he asks, Afghanistan or Iraq? He asks this question. Okay. So later on, Dr. Watson asks him, how did you know that I was an army man? I am an army man and I was in Afghanistan. How do you know that? So Sherlock Holmes is saying that, when you walked in, I saw your very short haircut and the way you walked, it seemed to me that you belong to the army. And then again, from the questions that you asked, I understood that you were a medical man. So you must have been an army doctor. And then I saw that you had a tanned face and a tanned hand, but there was a bit of white under your shirt sleeves. So I understood that you got the tan not from holiday, but from your army duty. You are a British person who is tanned and who is an army doctor and in this age. So must have been that you were doing your duty either in Iraq or in Afghanistan. So you see how just applying his observation skills and his critical mind, Sherlock Holmes correctly deduces that Dr. Watson is a doctor, is an army doctor, and also deduces that he has done service either in Iraq or in Afghanistan. So obviously, this is the paradigm of good critical thinking. Now we go over to the kind of argument that I was referring to as vicious. Vicious. Okay. Unfortunately, these are the kinds of arguments that we face every day. প্রত্যহ আমরা কিন্তু এই যুক্তির সম্মুখীনই এবং আমাদের যৌক্তিক দিক থেকে স্বনির্ভর হয়ে ওঠাটা এই জন্যেই দরকার যে আমাদের জীবনে চলার পথে এই ধরনের যে কুযুক্তি আমরা কুযুক্তির সম্মুখীন হচ্ছি এবং কুযুক্তির বশে পড়ে আমরা যে নানা রকম ভুলভাল করছি সেইটার থেকে নিজেদেরকে বাঁচানোর জন্যই কিন্তু আমাদের নিজেদেরকে এই সবিচার চিন্তায় পারদর্শী হয়ে উঠতে হবে। So we really need to be intellectually responsible. Intellectually, we have to become adults in thinking. Why? Because we really don't want to be brainwashed into believing things which are not true and not believing things which are true. Okay. Okay, let us take an example of a vicious argument. Often, suppose there are two political leaders, political leader A and political leader B. Suppose they are arguing over something. Let us take a concrete case. The case that we are now facing. How are we going to handle the COVID-19 situation? How are we going to provide the best possible medical care? And how are we going to provide the best possible safety measures to the general public? Okay, let us suppose that politician A gives us one proposal, proposal A. Now we see politician B coming up with an argument. He says, don't accept the proposal of politician A because you know his brother took bribe and was jailed. As you can see, this sort of arguments are arguments which really influence us. When we are told that a person's brother was jailed because he took bribe, we at once are reluctant in trusting that person. But we have to remember that politician B cannot just malign politician A's character and say that what he is saying, his proposal is wrong. If we are to say that someone's proposal is wrong, what we need to do is to discuss the proposal, to show what are the false premises of that proposal, what are the inadequacies in his argument. We cannot just attack his character or his relative's character and say that because his brother took bribe, his proposal is unacceptable. So you see, this sort of argument is neither good nor absurd, but just vicious. So you see that we are continuously facing situations where we have to make this judgment, whether this argument is a good argument, whether this argument really is an irrelevant argument, or whether this argument is a vicious argument. Okay? I'm stopping just for a second to have a glass of water. I'm just asking, am I audible? And can you all follow me? Can I have a bit of response so that I don't have this surreal experience of talking to a screen?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
yes,
you are audible.
ma'am. Yes,
Your
ma'am.
audio is good.
Excellent,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
So, how are we going to do this? How are we going to judge between all these kinds of arguments and find the right argument? Or when we are to give arguments ourselves, how are we to come up with arguments which are really good arguments, which are not vicious arguments, which are not nonsensical arguments? What kind of mindset should we have when we are judging someone's argument and when we are trying to propose an argument ourselves? It seems that in order to become a good critical thinker, we have to really have a particular kind of moral fiber, a particular kind of moral mentality. Okay, this might sound extremely strange because we usually associate critical thinking with logic. But the kind of fairness that we are expecting of a critical thinker comes from a particular kind of moral fiber. Unless we develop that kind of moral fiber within us, it is unlikely that we are going to be good critical thinkers. Okay, let us take an example. Again, an example. Those of you who are interested in cricket, you know that in cricket matches, we often have neutral umpires, right? Now, why do we have neutral umpires? What do we mean by neutral umpires? Cricket selectors choose umpires who do not have any relation with the contenders of the match, because their decisions are regarded to be free of motive and bias. So it is assumed that a motivated and biased judgment is always to be avoided. So in order to ensure that our own judgments are not motivated or biased, the first thing that we need to be aware of is our own assumptions, our own perspectives, our own prejudices, and our own biases. So in being a critical thinker, the first person that you are critical of is yourself. And a fair critical thinker, a good critical thinker, has a kind of open-mindedness which helps her to be self-critical. So, in order to be a good critical thinker, you have to be a fair judge not only of others, but also yourself. In evaluating a case, you must be able to consider all the possible and reasonable inferences as well as all the points of view that one might take in order to come up with reasonable inferences. The ability that we need to have is that we have to be able to accommodate different interpretations of the same case. Otherwise, we cannot ourselves be critical thinkers. So the first thing that we need to do is to question ourselves, is that are we free of motive or bias? Okay, is my point of view the only point of view to be taken in this case? Okay, can I step out of my point of view and take the point of view of my opponent and try to understand his point of view or the point that he is making? So as you can see that this really requires a kind of moral fiber, the moral fiber of a liberal person, an open-minded person. So let us now recap the things that we have already spoken of. A, we need to think through things. We need to think through things for ourselves. We should not be guided by others to think in any particular way. And we need to think through things properly. That is, not being guided by any bias or influence. And fourth point is that we need to develop a skill which will enable us to do all these three. Okay. We may now try to just say who is a good critical thinker. Okay. If I could see you, I would have asked you, can you now tell me who is a good critical thinker? But because I cannot tell you, I cannot see you, I'm just, going on lecturing, something I really don't quite appreciate. It would be fun if I could talk to you. So I am now telling you a few things that has come to my mind. And after this, I will mute myself and ask you if you have any other points to add. A critical thinker is one who is guided by reason. Okay. Now, just when I say this, I have a kind of uncomfortable feeling inside me. As you know, that sometimes being rational is not the right thing to do. Because sometimes being rational, we are unable to see the point of view of others. Okay. So I say that a person who's a good critical thinker has to be guided by reason, but I ask you to note that a good critical thinker is not just guided by reason. So reason is not your only guide. As I have told you before, good moral fiber is your guide as well. Okay. Now, the second point is that one should not be guided just by emotions or biases or prejudices. One who considers all the evidence at hand and follows all the routes that those evidences point towards is a good critical thinker. So, sometimes we have a lot of evidence at hand, but we have already decided which conclusion we want to be true. And we select evidences among all those evidences which indicate that conclusion. So this is something that a good critical thinker cannot do. A good critical thinker cannot just select the evidences that prove her point. Okay, so a good critical thinker has to consider all the evidences at hand and follow the route that those evidences point towards. A good critical thinker is in search of the best explanation. A good critical thinker is free from motives or biases. A good critical thinker is aware of her own biases and motives and prejudices. And a good critical thinker has a fair and open mind. Okay? So here I'm stopping for 2 minutes and I'm asking you all if you have understood as so far what I have said.
Madam, unmute yourself.
Have you all understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, there are some questions in the chat box.
Would you like to ask the questions now, or do you want me to take the questions at the end of the lecture? Because I have a few other things to say. Can you tell me what I should do?
Ma'am, it
At the
would
end of
be
the lecture.
good end of the lecture.
Okay, so let us.
I
wait
have
till the
already
end.
put in the chat box. So at the end of the session, you can answer.
Okay, good. Thank you. So now we may go over to the discussion of the criteria of critical thinking. Okay, the standards of critical thinking. And for this, I am going to share a screen. Okay, so here we have a list of standards of critical thinking. They are criteria in the light of which we may evaluate whether one's thinking or reasoning process is critical or good. These are sort of benchmarks that help us to think, to write, to evaluate issues in a way that reflects our intellectual responsibility, our intellectual integrity. As you can see, they are clarity, accuracy, precision, and relevance, depth, breadth. I'm going to discuss each of them, and I'm going to also say what are the hindrances of these. I'm going to say what are the hindrances that we face in meeting these standards of clarity, accuracy, precision, relevance, depth, and breadth. Okay, now I'm stopping sharing. Just a moment. Okay, can you see me now again? Am I audible and visible?
You are audible but not visible, ma'am.
Oh, wait a bit.
Yes,
I think
yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to come alive.
Yeah, you are visible now, ma'am.
Okay. So the first standard of critical thinking is clarity. Okay. And I'm reminded of something rather personal. Whenever my father-in-law used to receive a phone call, he would say very exasperately, পরিষ্কার ভাবে কথা বলো, স্পষ্ট ভাবে কথা বলো. Now, this is one of the things that we really look in a critical thinker. A critical thinker must be able to think clearly and speak clearly and write clearly. Okay. Clarity is one of the key features of a good critical thinker. Here, I'm going to give you another example, and this is a favorite example of mine. Okay. Suppose you want to buy a ticket to go to Agra from New Delhi. I know that nowadays nobody goes to the booking office and buy a ticket. But in those days when we were children, we used to go with our parents to the booking office, stand in a long queue, fill up a form, and then get our tickets. Now, why are we given the form to fill up? Because often when we used to reach the window, we would just say, can I have a ticket from New Delhi to Agra? Now, this instruction that we are giving to the booking clerk is the most vague instruction that one could give. At once, the booking clerk would ask you, well, how many of you are traveling? Do you want just a single-way ticket or do you want a return ticket? Okay, 5 of you are going. Okay, how many are children? How many are adults? Tell me, which seat do you want to have? Do you want to have the upper berth or the lower berth? Do you want to have the window seat or not? Okay. So now I'm going to show you the requisition slip that they used to give us when we used to go to the booking office, and the detailed way in which the requisition slip is constructed tells you what is demanded of you when you are going to a booking office and asking for a ticket. What kind of clarity is required of you? Okay, so now I'm going to share with you again the booking slip that we used to be given. Just a moment. You
Madam,
see? Yes.
আমি ডক্টর সুভাষ রায় চৌধুরীর কথা বলছিলাম।
Yes.
ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড হচ্ছে কমার্সের, আমি ইন্টারডিসিপ্লিনারি সাবজেক্টে খুব ইন্টারেস্টেড। তো আপনার এই লেকচারটা খুব ভালো লাগছে শুনতে। আমার একটা অদ্ভুত কোয়েশ্চেন আছে, সেটা হচ্ছে দেখুন, আমরা বিজনেস ওরিয়েন্টেড যখন ব্যাপারটা আলোচনা করি তখন উই মাস্ট হ্যাভ সাম ক্রিটিক্যাল থিঙ্কিং ইন আওয়ার মাইন্ড, হ্যাঁ, যে উই আর ক্রিটিক্যালি জাজ এভরিথিং। কিন্তু আপনি যে অ্যাপ্লিকেশন সাইড অফ ক্রিটিক্যাল থিঙ্কিং ইন আওয়ার ডেইলি লাইফ বলছেন, সেখানে ধরুন প্রতিটা ক্ষেত্রে যদি আমরা ক্রিটিক্যালি ভাবি বা চিন্তা করি, তাহলে একটা সন্দেহ প্রবণের জায়গাটা চলে আসে নাকি অন্যদের প্রতি বা সামথিং?
হ্যাঁ, এখানে আমি একটু একটা কথা বলতে চাইছি যে ক্রিটিক্যাল হওয়া মানে কিন্তু বাতিগ্রস্ত হওয়া নয়। কেমন? ক্রিটিক্যাল হওয়া মানে কিন্তু সন্দেহ প্রবণ হওয়া নয়। কেমন? ক্রিটিক্যাল হওয়া মানে একটা বিশেষ ধরনের শানিত বুদ্ধি বলে বলিয়ান।
Exactly. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
And if you look at the screen, can you see the railway reservation requisition form? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, just look at it. How well constructed it is. And it tells you that this is the clarity demand that the railway has from us. This is how clear they want us to be when we go to buy a ticket. So they say, okay, first you have to say which train you want to take.
তাহলে কি ম্যাডাম আমরা এটা ধরে নেব, তাহলে কি ম্যাডাম ধরে নেব যে ক্রিটিক্যালি থিঙ্কিং মানে ডিটেইলড থিঙ্কিং, বা যেখানে কোনো ফ্ল থাকবে না বা থাকা উচিত না, এরকম একটা সিচুয়েশন বা মানে আমাদের মাইন্ড সেটিং?
নিশ্চয়ই
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাডাম।
এই যে চিন্তা, এই যে ডিটেইলড ভাবে ভাবা এবং সমস্ত পসিবিলিটিকে কনসিডার করা, এটা বাতিগ্রস্ত মানুষের থাকে ঠিকই, কিন্তু সাবধানী মানুষেরও থাকে, বুদ্ধিমান মানুষেরও থাকে, এবং জীবন যাপন করতে যারা বিশেষভাবে পটু তাদের থাকে। এবং সেই কারণেই আমি রেলওয়ে রিকুইজিশন স্লিপ নিলাম। বা ধরুন একটা রেসিপি ফলো করছি, কেমন সেখানে কিন্তু রেসিপির আবার তারতম্য হয়। আমরা যারা রান্না করতে ভালোবাসি, আমরা কিছু রেসিপি পছন্দ করি, কিছু পছন্দ করি। কেন পছন্দ করি না? তার কারণ হচ্ছে ক্লিয়ারলি সবকিছু বলা হলো না। কেমন বলা হলো ময়দা অ্যাড করুন, কিন্তু বলা হলো না যে কত কাপ ময়দা অ্যাড করুন, কাপটার সাইজটা কিরকম হবে। হ্যাঁ,
খুব সুন্দর লজিক্যালি আপনি বলছেন ম্যাডাম, বিউটিফুল।
কিছু লোক আরো বেশি হয়তো বাতিগ্রস্ত হয়ে বলবে যে আচ্ছা কাপ তো বুঝলাম, কাপটায় কি কেটে কেটে ময়দা নেব না উঁচু উঁচু নেব? আমি অত বাতিগ্রস্তর কথা বলছি না, কিন্তু আমাকে তো বুঝতে হবে যে কাপটা নেব আর কাপটার সাইজটা কি, আমাকে এটা বলতে হবে। ওকে, so if we go back to the railway requisition form, you see how detailed it is. And this is the kind of clarity of thinking and clarity of speech and clarity of writing that is required of us. Okay. So we have to say which train we are taking, which class we want to travel.
কিন্তু ম্যাডাম একটা কথা বলি, এই রেলওয়ে রিজার্ভেশনে তো আপনি পুট করছেন আপনার ডিটেল যে সমস্ত ইনফরমেশন দরকার সেগুলো, কিন্তু আমরা যখন ডেইলি লাইফে অনেক সময় অনেক কিছু ক্রিটিক্যালি ডিটেল ভাবি, আমাদেরও তো ভুল হতে পারে। দেন হোয়াট? যদি সেই ক্রিটিক্যাল থিঙ্কিং এর মধ্যে কোনো ফ্লজ থাকে, ভুল হয়ে যায়, তখন কি করা উচিত?
আচ্ছা, আমরা এই যে লেকচার সিরিজটা আমরা যেটা পড়ছি এখন, ওকে, আমরা এই ভুলগুলো কিভাবে হয় সেটা বোঝার চেষ্টা করি। অ্যাকচুয়ালি এই যে নানা উদাহরণের সাহায্যে আমি বলার চেষ্টা করছি, তার একটা সবচেয়ে মুখ্য উদ্দেশ্য হলো কিছু কিছু ক্ষেত্রে, যে ক্ষেত্রগুলোতে আমাদের বেশি বেশি ভুল হয়, সেইগুলোকে চিহ্নিত করা। So what I'm trying to do is to tell you what are the kinds of caution that we need to exercise so that we do not make mistakes. And the mistakes can be very crucial mistakes, like mistakes in giving a scientific theory. It could be a mistake in that. It could be a mistake in measuring a cup of flour for a cake that I want to bake. As simple as that. Or mistakes in judgment regarding people. Mistakes in judgment regarding news that we are fed every day. Okay, so I mean, when we are talking about the standards of critical thinking and how we are to achieve those standards, they are applicable to the most humdrum situations in our lives, as well as the most complicated academic, theoretical situations that academicians face. Okay, so it could be a situation where I have to decide whether to take the bus or the metro, or it could be a situation where I have to decide which scientific theory am I going to take up as the true scientific theory. So you see, it has a very wide range of applicability. Okay. So now we have. Can I?
একটা প্রশ্ন করতে পারি?
Please,
Is it about clarity?
একটা ছোট্ট প্রশ্ন ছিল, একটু করতে পারি?
Please, I would like to request all the participants to ask the speaker after her speech is over.
Okay, thank you,
Otherwise,
thank you.
she will be disrupted.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sorry, madam.
I'm very sorry. I really like the way of, the conversational way, but I think if we are to keep the lecture within a particular time frame, then we have to stick to it. I'm so
Madam-
sorry. Please
Madam
hold on
Speaker-
to your question and ask me later on. Okay? মনে করে রাখুন আমাকে শেষে ধরবেন। ঠিক আছে? Okay. So now let us see what could be the hindrances, the impediments to being clear. আমি ক্লিয়ার হতে চাইছি, কিন্তু ক্লিয়ার হওয়ার পথে কি কি বাধা আমি ফেস করছি সেটা বলার চেষ্টা করা যাক। হ্যাঁ, what could be the hindrances, the impediments, okay, that one faces when one tries to be clear? Well, the first thing that I want to bring your notice to is that we often say and decide and write and even think in a very unreflecting way. And then it becomes very, very difficult for ourselves to make other people understand what we are thinking. Okay. This lack of sense of intellectual responsibility and a kind of casual approach to issues are often responsible for this sort of unclarity. আমি চলে গেলাম একটা টিকিট কিনতে, very casually. আমি টিকিট কাউন্টারে গিয়ে ক্লার্ককে বলছি টিকিট দিয়ে দাও। ওকে, as if সে বুঝে বসে আছে আমি কোথায় যেতে চাইছি, আমি কোন ট্রেনে যেতে চাইছি, কবে যেতে চাইছি, কজনে যেতে চাইছি, as if সে বুঝে বসে আছে, as if the clerk knows where I want to go, which train I want to take, how many people are going with me, which class I am traveling. We do not give enough thought to the things that we do, or we do not think through things before we start doing them. Okay? And the other big hindrance to clarity is prejudice and stereotypical thinking. These prejudices and stereotypes, they cloud our thoughts and make them vague and obscure. Very often we are unable to think or talk clearly if we are overcome by some strong emotion, such as fear or anger or depression or even faith, great faith, belief, trust. Another reason we are often unclear is that we do not understand that what seems to be clear to me may be very unclear to others, may be very confusing to my audience. Okay, so for example, I'm giving you a lecture. Okay, I'm using English as a medium of communication. I'm using certain words. For example, the word impediment to clarity. Okay, I'm using this word. And I'm assuming that my audience understands it. This sort of assumption is detrimental to clarity. Okay, you cannot assume that something that is clear to you will be clear to everybody. Okay, so there is always this thing about presenting yourself, that you have to really be sensitive to the audience, whether your way of explanation is clear enough for the audience to understand. Okay, so this is why clarity is met with a lot of hurdles. The hurdles are our casual approach, our lack of sense of intellectual responsibility, our prejudices, the stereotypes that influence us, the emotions of fear, anger, faith. These are the impediments of clarity. I'm sure there are hundreds more, and I'm sure you have all thought of them already, but these are the few that I mentioned now. Okay. Now, this second standard of critical thinking is accuracy. Okay. Accuracy is just being true to the facts. Okay. And you know that accuracy is very, very important when we are making quantitative judgments in science. Okay. We have to be accurate. Okay. But we are not only very finicky about accuracy when we are doing science. For example, when I'm going to buy something, a food item, I also demand accurate estimate of the weight of the product that I am getting. Okay. The other place where we demand accuracy is media. You see, we always, there was a time when we believed that anything that we read in the print media is true. Now we know better. And we also understand the importance of accuracy when we are completely exasperated and infuriated by the fake news reports in newspapers, on televisions, and also on the various other news platforms that we are now, open to, like social media. Okay. Now, you have to understand that there is a difference between clarity and accuracy. I can be clear about something, but I may not be accurate. For example, I may say that the price of Chandramukhi potato is 50 rupees per kg. I'm very clear, but I'm not accurate. Check the market price today, it is not 50 rupees. So being accurate and being clear is not the same thing. Now, how can we judge whether a particular statement is accurate or
মধুসূদন ম্যাম আনমিউট হয়ে গেছেন, আনমিউট করুন, মিউট হয়ে গেছে।
ম্যাডাম আপনাকে দেখতেও পাচ্ছি না, শুনতেও পাচ্ছি না, দেখতেও পাচ্ছি না। হ্যাঁ
Ma'am, you are not audible and not visible also.
ম্যাডাম, আমার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? হ্যালো ম্যাডাম।
I feel like somehow connection has been lost.
ম্যাডাম শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
Call madam. Payal.
Hello, madam. Yes, yes.
Call madam.
Yeah, I'm calling her. I'm calling her.
ম্যাডাম শোনা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, yes, yes.
হ্যাঁ,
We can hear
বলছি
you.
আমরা যখন কিছু ভাবি, যা কিছু ভাবি অর নন ক্রিটিক্যালি, তো আমাদের আলটিমেট গোলটা তো কোনো ডিসিশন মেকিং পারপাস। তো এই
আমি
অন দ্য
ম্যাডাম
ওয়ে,
নই, আমি তো পাঞ্চালি ম্যাডাম বলছি। ম্যাডামকে এখন শোনা যাচ্ছে না। ওকে।
ও আচ্ছা 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 আচ্ছা।
আপনারা পুরো ইন্টারঅ্যাকশনের সময়টা পাবেন। আসলে কি বলুন তো, ওয়েবিনার গুলো সময় এত কম থাকে।
হ্যাঁ, এটাই সমস্যা।
হ্যাঁ, আপনি ঢোকার চেষ্টা করুন
সবার কাছে সাফিশিয়েন্ট থাকে না।
ঠিক ঠিক ঠিক।
সেই জন্য আমাদেরও ওটা ভাবতে হয়। ওই জন্য আর কি পরে আপনারা যতক্ষণ ইচ্ছে করতে
আচ্ছা
পারেন।
আমি আপনাকে বলে রাখবো, আপনি তাহলে একটু কানেকশন করে দিতে পারবেন।
না আপনি কাজ করুন না,
Hello.
চ্যাট বক্স আছে দেখুন নিচে একটা
এটা চ্যাট
বক্স
বক্সে
আছে।
হবে না ম্যাডাম,
ও
এটা চ্যাট
আচ্ছা,
বক্সে
তাহলে
হবে
আমি
না।
হয়ে গেলে জিজ্ঞেস করবেন, ম্যাডামের একটু
আচ্ছা
নেটওয়ার্কে মনে হচ্ছে প্রবলেম হচ্ছে।
হ্যাঁ, হ্যালো।
হ্যাঁ পায়েল বলো।
হ্যাঁ, উনি কল করেছিলেন, উনি ডিসকানেক্টেড হয়ে গেছেন। শি ইজ ট্রাইং টু গেট ইনসাইড ওয়ান্স মোর। শি ইজ ট্রাইং টু লগ ইন।
ওকে ওকে ওকে।
Please have some patience. She'll be back soon. আর আমরা তো মধুচন্দ্রা দিকে কালকে পরশুও শি ইজ দেয়ার। মধুচন্দ্রা দি, প্লিজ কাইন্ডলি আনমিউট yourself. মধুচন্দ্রা দি, প্লিজ আনমিউট yourself. We cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself.
Now,
Yeah.
to unmute.
Yes, you're visible and
Hello,
audible.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear
sorry,
you.
so sorry, I got disconnected. Okay, where was I? I was trying to share something with you. Wait, let me share now. Can you see this? Hello? Hello, can you
Yes,
see
ma'am.
what I'm sharing?
No ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yes, you see how to spot.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes. You
Yes,
see,
we can see.
there is a poster which tells you how to spot fake news. Okay, so this is how accuracy check is being made. Okay, you are asked, consider the source, click away from the story to investigate the site. Read beyond headlines can be outrageous in an effort to get clicks. So read the whole story. Check the author. Supporting sources should be checked. Check the date of the post. See if it is a joke. Check your biases. Ask the expert. Okay? So you see that when we are faced with a statement which we are inclined to believe, we first should stop and see if it is indeed accurate, it is indeed true, before really accepting it at face value. Okay, so this is accuracy. Now I go on to the other standard of critical thinking, which is precision. Okay, in being precise, we become more specific and we do not omit any details that are relevant to substantiate the claim that I want to make. For example, I might say it gets very hot during May in Kolkata, which is fairly accurate, but it isn't precise. One may want me to be a little more precise and actually mention the range of temperature that we have during the month of May, and this range has to be fixed by taking the average temperature in May for the last 20 years. So this is the kind of precision that we need to have when we are trying to make a very important claim. Okay, so precision is another important standard of critical thinking. Now, I want to warn you about something. And I suppose the questions that were being posed by many of you was posed because you had something like this in your mind. You know, we are asking a critical thinker to be precise, to be accurate, to be clear, okay? But in our effort to be clear, accurate, and precise, many a time we lose sight of a a larger picture or a holistic picture, understand even the nitty-gritty details that we talk about. And that is why it is not enough for us to be accurate, to be precise, to be clear. What we need to be is we have to make our statements, our arguments relevant. So the next standard of critical thinking is relevance. Okay? While thinking through a problem, we must find out what is relevant or important to that particular problem. Okay. Suppose we are investigating the issue of global warming. Okay. Now, it may not be enough for us to look at the environmental threats that are being caused by the lifestyle that we lead. Maybe we need to have understanding of the microeconomic structure of a particular country. We may also need to see the demographic structure of a particular community, because they may also be relevant in our understanding of why global warming is taking place. Okay, so what is going to be relevant to the problem of global warming is something that we have to be very cautious about. Okay, so we have to, whenever we are asking a question, we have to find out what is relevant to that question. For example, you know, before the writings of Amartya Sen, we were not really aware of the real reasons behind the famine that our country went through, because we were not looking into the relevant places where we would get the explanation of a particular famine taking place in a particular colonized country at a particular period of time. Okay, so it is very crucial for us to understand what is relevant for a problem and what is not relevant for a problem. Okay, so this is the other standard of critical thinking. There are two more standards that we are going to talk about. They are depth and breadth. Okay, I don't think I need to say much about this, that in order to understand something, in order to critically assess a situation, that we have to make a threadbare analysis of the situation, that we have to go beyond the surface and get to the heart of the matter, is something quite obvious to most of us. And that is why depth is regarded as one of the most important standards of critical thinking. So is breadth. I mean, not only do we need an in-depth analysis of the problem, we also have to widen our horizon and get a more broad the issue at hand in order to be able to critically assess that particular problem. Okay, so now we have discussed all these standards of critical thinking. Okay, now I was thinking of saying a few things about the benefits of critical thinking, but now I feel that I shouldn't be saying that I would like to know from you if you think that there was something really worthwhile about critical thinking, and what is it that you think that makes the study of critical thinking, the practice of critical thinking important. But before I end my lecture, I would like to share one slide, which would be a kind of warming up to the next lecture that I give tomorrow. Just a moment, let me share this slide. Okay, can you see the slide? Can you see it?
Yes, madam.
Hello?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Yeah, here I'm sort of listing how do we actually do this? I mean, how do we achieve clarity, accuracy, depth, breadth, relevance in our thinking? We start off by developing a questioning attitude. Remember that this questioning attitude is as much self-directed as it is other-directed. Hence, we have to be self-critical. This does not make us weak and diffident, but help us gear up for challenges that come in the form of criticism from others. We test each belief on the basis of the available evidence and judge if what we believe rationally follows from the evidence we have. We only form beliefs that we are ready to defend with the help of reason. When we are to examine a problem, we have to do these four things: state a problem, elaborate it, exemplify it, illustrate it. So this is, what should I say? This is our plan. This is the plan with which we will now start looking at how we may become better critical thinkers.
Madam,
Just a moment, just a moment, just a moment, just a moment. Can you see me now?
no, madam.
I think you have to wait a little bit. Am I visible now?
No, madam.
I have started the video.
No, madam.
I think I'm visible now. Am I? Can you
No.
see me?
No, ma'am.
No, no.
No, ma'am, you are not visible.
Gosh. I'm trying.
You are audible but not visible.
Should I, what should I do? Should I stop the video and again try?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a moment.
You are visible. You are visible. Just. You are visible,
Now?
ma'am. Yes, you are visible, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, you know, in this lecture today, we have discussed why we are talking about critical thinking and how it might be taught to people and how we may teach ourselves to be better critical thinkers. What are the hindrances in our path to becoming good critical thinkers? What are the standards of critical thinking? These are the things that we have discussed. Tomorrow, we are going to discuss logic and critical thinking. And one might think that I'm going to take a class of logic in the way that a philosophy teacher takes, but it is not going to be like that at all, because we are going to really concentrate on informal arguments and informal fallacies that we encounter in everyday life, and by taking examples of those informal arguments, we shall be able to become cautious about the vicious kind of arguments that I was talking about. Okay, so that is our plan for tomorrow. And the day after, we are going to fully concentrate on something which is extremely relevant today, especially because we are locked down. We are quarantined in our homes, and we are always in front of our televisions and watching news feed on our mobiles. So we are really bombarded with a great deal of information which is coming from outside, and we have no way of getting outside our home and verifying it. So the issue that we are going to talk about in the third lecture is information and evaluation. How is it possible to do that as a critical thinker? Okay, so I end here today, and I'm going to take questions from you. But before that, let me say it has been a great joy to get back to academics. Thank you.
ম্যাডাম আমার একটাই খালি কোয়েশ্চেন। হ্যালো ম্যাডাম,
Can you tell me your name when you ask the question?
আমার নাম হলো ডক্টর সুভাষ রায়।
কি করিলাম এটা নহা হল যে
কথাটা হলো একটি কোশ্চেনটা হচ্ছে ক্রিটিক্যালি থিঙ্ক, ঠিক তো আমরা এথিক্যাল পার্টটা যদি আপনি ওর সঙ্গে একটু লিঙ্ক করেন যে কতটা এথিক্স মেনটেন করা হচ্ছে বা কতটা এথিক্যাল বা কতটা আনএথিক্যাল, তাহলে আমার মনে হয় আরেকটু ভালো হয় আর কি, শুনতে ভালো লাগবে আর কি। সেটা আজকে না হলেও হবে।
আমি বারবার করে moral fiber এর কথাটা বলেছি ঠিকই।
That is also my question, ma'am. Sorry for intervening. I'm Dr. Joyita Adhya. Ma'am, this is also, you have said that in order to be a good critical thinker, one needs to be a good moral agent. You have talked about the moral vibes. So can you please explain that part? I can understand the relation between logic and critical thinking, but why morally, I mean, becoming a moral agent is necessary to be a good critical thinker? That is the question.
Madam, can I ask you one question?
Is this related to the one that they have asked already, or should I respond to them and then you can ask the question?
Okay, ma'am, you can respond then and then I will ask you. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello, am I audible?
Now?
Yes, am I audible? Am I
This is
audible?
not discussed.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello?
Is this Onurima speaking?
Yes, Bubundi. Good afternoon.
You want to ask a question?
Yes,
You want
actually,
to ask a question
yeah.
which is related to this?
Absolutely,
Onurima?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
I was trying to understand that you said that being rational is not enough for critical thinking. We need to have a moral element for that also. But I would like to ask that is rationality and morality also enough? Is there any other element also required for this critical thinking? Because I feel that somewhere you need to be, need to have a pragmatic element also. Besides being rational and moral, you also need to have the pragmatic aspect in your mind to have a proper critical thinking.
Sure. May I
Ma'am,
respond now? May I respond now?
In this aspect, I
respond?
want to. Aspect, I want to ask you one question. May I? I'm Payal Kaur, Dr. Payal Kaur. I'm just.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to ask you, at the beginning of your lecture, you had said that who is a good critical thinker, and you raised the question of rationality there. But you said that rationality is not enough to be a good critical thinker. Do you consider, when you say that a critical thinker must give importance to others, so my question is, do you consider that critical thinker must be a good listener? And if a good critical thinker is an open-minded person, then he or she must allow dialogue between the others to feel and to relate and uh, to have the viewpoint of others. What do you think? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. I think I had 4 people speaking on the same issue. And I think most of you have actually answered the question that you raised. Definitely, I do think I did talk about the moral fiber time and again, and I still think that it is very important for me, and I think it is very important for developing the kind of mindset that one needs to have in order to be a good critical thinker. And the mindset is that of humility, a kind of humility that you gain when you understand that you are open to mistakes, you are open to prejudices, you are open to stereotypes. It is only then that you realize that you may be wrong and there may be reasons, good reasons, for which you should listen to the opponent's point of view. Okay, so listening to others, as Onurima asked, that pragmatic, obviously, pragmatics is one of the things that pragmatic acumen is one of the things that we would like to have. The other thing that we need to have is empathy. If we are not empathetic, then look, I mean, it is not merely a rational property. You may link it with rationality, but empathy is something that helps you to understand others. Okay, and if you understand others, there is a greater likelihood that others will understand you. And I mean, this may sound very cliched, but you know, through mutual understanding, you are more likely to succeed in life than not. I know this really sounds extremely cliched, but it is true. And another thing about moral fiber, I want to say that in tomorrow's lecture, I am going to tell you about a few informal fallacies, which will tell you how devious methods are applied to really make fool of others, so that what you want them to believe, you can make them believe. And this is where the moral fiber comes in, okay? And obviously, you have to be smart and pragmatically smart to see through this kind of moral deviousness. You see what I mean? So, I mean, I'm not belittling rationality or pragmatism. I'm not doing that. But I'm saying that when we are facing arguments, we have to understand that there is this moral element to our mindset, which will help us to deal with these 3 kinds of arguments that I started with, you know, the completely nonsensical arguments, the good arguments, and the devious sort. Okay. I hope this answers your question. Is there any other question?
Hello. There are some questions in the chat box. So if you can see them and answer.
You want me to open that? Okay.
Yeah.
Just a moment.
Ma'am, I'm Doel Mukherjee. I just want to know that if I am a good critical thinker, then it is possible to overcome depression, fear, anxiety, anger. Is this possible? Is this practical that I should overcome? It can be possible for me to overcome all these things.
This is a too tall a claim. I don't think that critical thinking is the answer to every possible problem in the world. Definitely not. But I guess that if you are a critical thinker, you're geared up in a particular way, which makes you able, in a certain way, to deal with the kinds of problems that you mentioned. These problems are greater problems. And I don't think that just by reading my book on Introduction to Critical Thinking, one can get rid of depression. I don't think so. I don't think so. But if you develop an open mind, I'm sure you will be kinder to people who are suffering from depression.
Can I come in? Hello.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Yes,
Can I
Pinaki,
come
go
in?
ahead.
Oh,
yes,
thank
yes.
you, madam.
Pinaki.
Thank you for your mind-blowing presentation. It was pretty clear, and of course, it was.
Mind blowing. Mind blow করে গেলে তো মুশকিল হবে।
No, it was really, very good lecture. Well, there is a few questions that comes to my mind. One is very basic, that from when or who are the people that people that first time was talking about the critical thinking. Okay. And the second one is how
Pinaki, this question is a very difficult question. I think from the beginning of humanity, I mean, you can't say that all of a sudden we have become critical thinkers. No, but the study of critical thinking as a subject, as a separate subject, I think any codified learning and teaching of logic, be it formal or informal, really gave a great deal of importance to critical thinking. Okay. And another thing I must say, I mean, it's just a point that I wanted to make, that when was it introduced in universities? This is a question that we may ask. I mean,
actually the question was from when the term
for very
critical
many years
thinking becomes popular.
Okay. The term.
Yeah.
I'll have to see. Why don't you tell me tomorrow?
Okay. Thank you. Well, there is another fundamental question, that
Anything else?
Yes, madam. Yes, there is. The question is that you divided you make the distinction between three kinds of argument, right? The good, the bad, and the vicious one. So the examples was very convincing. I just want to know what is the conditions or the constitutions that let us know, that will allow us to know which one is the good one and which is the bad one or the vicious one. And the other thing is,
I have the second lecture, Pinaki. This is what I'm going to discuss tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
This is what I discuss tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Then it's okay. Then, oh, madam, you are not audible.
Anyone else?
Ma'am, here, Joyita again. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm Joyita again. Ma'am,
Yes,
I asked you
Joyita.
about the
Yes, I can
morality,
hear
about the
you.
point of morality. So, from your explanation, can we assume that being moral means having a kind of mindset where I can admit that I might be wrong? I mean, having that sort of more mindset up. Uh, can you recognize that as a being moral?
Sure, this is the kind of intellectual integrity that anybody has to have. That I am open to mistake. I may be wrong.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. That
Think of oneself that I am above all
yes.
sorts of judgment
Okay,
is not a commendable moral stance.
okay,
I
okay.
mean, obviously, this is the kind of attitude that all great dictators had.
That sort of perspective we must hold in every case. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, it's clear now. It's clear now. Thank you.
Madhuchandadi, I think Somnath Goswami, he wants to ask a question. Somnath
Sure.
Goswami, are you here? Somnath Goswami, are you here? I don't know. He wrote in the chat box that he is blind and he wants to ask a question, but now he's not
He
responding.
has written that is okay. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we can
Hello.
take Somnath's question first.
Hello.
And there are a few more questions
Hello.
in the chat box, but it's
Hello.
already 5:30.
Hello.
The last 2 hours.
Hello.
So I think we'll end the session today over here.
Hello.
And we
Hello.
will continue
Hello.
the questions. Please,
Hello.
let me just.
Okay.
So we will just we will address all the questions tomorrow again because it's 5:33 and you have been talking for the last 2 years. Sorry, last 2 hours. So I think we will stop over here today's session and we will continue tomorrow. Is that okay, Madhuchandadi?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I see you tomorrow. And it was, I hope I was able to reach you all and was able to make you, make things clear for you. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
It was a wonderful lecture, Madhuchandadi, and I know participants have a lot of questions, but please wait for tomorrow. We'll get Madhuchandadi tomorrow and next day. So please ask your questions tomorrow and next day. Thanks a lot. It's 5:30 and we need to end the session today.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. My question is left.
Yeah.
So
tomorrow
no
we
problem
can.
tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Oh.
It was rather a very good session.